Hello my friends, in today's episode on Grainificent. In today's episode I will be talking about how to use the Yashica Electro 35 GSM film camera. If you like videos like these, a little subscribe would help me out. It shows me I make helpful and interesting content. So let's get into it. How to use this camera? Well, first thing you need to do is buy a battery. But before we talk about the battery, let's talk about, can you use this camera without a battery? You might think it's a Yashica Electro, it needs a battery. Well, technically it does need a battery, but you can use it without a battery. Because if you wind the lever and take a photo, you can wind the film without the battery and you can take photos without the battery. The only thing is, the camera will be taking photos, the shutter will be releasing at its base speed of 1/500th of a second. So if you want to use this without a battery, the Sunny 16 rule would dictate you would need about 400 ISO film, or perfectly would be 500 ISO film. If you would put in such film into here, you could use the Sunny 16 rule. That means in perfect sunny day, you would set it to f16. In shadows or in a cloudy day, you would set f11 or f8. In shadows, f5, 6 or f4. And in darker areas, even lower. This lens goes down all the way to 1.7. So you could perfectly well shoot this camera without a battery. The rangefinder will work, everything will work, except you won't have any other time other than 1/500th of a second, and you won't have the light meter function. But other than that, it will work perfectly fine. To put in the battery, we put in the battery over here. Of course, take yourself a screwdriver, open up this little door, and it takes quite a large battery. It's hard to find original batteries for them, so you could buy adapters like this one I got over here. You put in the battery with the plus side facing up. You put it in like this, because this whole thing will have to go in like this, because plus side has to be facing up. If you put in the battery like this with this inside, it will fit, but as you see on this, it needs the plus side here, but it's going to be touching the paper over here. The paper, you want it to be touching the outer rings over here, and that only touches with the rear side over here. That's why you need to put the plus side down and insert this whole thing into the camera like this, something like this. You insert it there just like that, and then you close this door. There, when you have it closed, when you click this button over here, you should get a green light over here by the film counter that the battery is good. Of course, my green light is broken, so I can't do the battery test. I will have to take the camera apart and see what's broken inside there exactly. If I find it's a simple repair, I will repair it, and I will let you know in another video how to get this working if your model also has this broken. But another way to check if your battery is working is with the light meter. You just close the f-stop all the way to f16. Set your film ISO here to 100. Your light meter won't be showing anything if you don't have your lever advanced. You need to advance your lever, and then when you lightly press here, you will see the slow sign lights up. That means the time needed to expose for this shot at these settings is too long for the camera, that the shutter will be open for 1/30th of a second or longer. This lights up if the shutter speed falls below 1/30th of a second. And the same if you open up your aperture to 1.7 and you set your ISO to 1000th and point it at something bright, you will have an overexposure light come on. That means that for these settings, the shutter speed would have to be faster than the camera can handle, and the camera can only do 1/500th of a second. So if you are getting this red light, that means your the camera is seeing too much light. To fix that, you just have to close down the aperture a bit. And if you're half pressing your shutter and you're not getting any light at all, that means it will have a perfect exposure within the time range of the camera's shutter speed. So, of course, now you know this is the ISO wheel. You choose your ISO setting all the way from 25 ISO all the way up to 1000 ISO. Here you have your shutter lock. If you lock it, you can't press the shutter. So if you have advanced shutter and you don't want to accidentally press it, this is a lock, so it stays locked. You can hold it around, walk around with it, and it won't fire. You have to unlock it, just like that, in order to take a photo. As you've seen, the slow shutter did light up and the shutter was open for over a second, but let's see, we got a slow shutter, and let's see how long the shutter stays open. Yeah, that was almost a second for the exposure. So you can do longer exposures on this, up to 30 seconds, I think, but you're not in control of the shutter, how long it stays open. You have no shutter speed control here. The camera always decides what is the exact shutter speed. You can set the aperture over here, like we already mentioned before. And here on the wheel you have some markings. You have a sun over here marked. That's like for sunny days you should have this shutter speed. That's a little help if you are doing the sunny 16 roll. In sunny days you would do this aperture. On a cloudy day over here you would do this aperture. And the last image here is, I think, a window. If you're inside of well-lit rooms, I would say, you would go down to 1.7 all the way over here. And on the top you have automatic exposure. You can change this to bulb mode for you to decide how long it's going to be open with a release cable. That's if you want very long exposures. And here is for flash photography. Flash sync, I think, is 1/30th of a second on this camera. And you got the hot shoe here, so you can connect the flash directly to the camera on the hot shoe. If you don't have hot shoe compatible flash, you have a PC connection over here, so you can connect a wire flash. And of course, you have these two black points to focus. As you see, the lens moves in and out when you focus. And here you got the focus ranges, the depth of field indicator, that if you would put f16 and you would set infinity mark on the 16, that means anything from the opposite side 16 here, so from about 2.5 meters or 8 feet, everything from this distance to infinity should be in focus. And here we got the rewind knob. You could look the video about loading and unloading film into this film camera to see how that exactly works. Then here you got the release knob for the film. If you would accidentally click the release knob, it doesn't come back out, and you don't want to rewind film yet, all you have to do is advance the film and the lever will pop back out. And so from the front here, of course, we got a beautiful, in this model, we got the 45mm 1.7 lens, the color Yashica DX. And of course, we still on the lens here have a self timer right over here, this little knob. So if you're changing your aperture, you have to be careful not to accidentally advance your self timer, just like I did right here. Now, there is no way to release the self timer. You have to take the timer shot now. You have to press release the shutter, wait for it to count down, and it will take the shot. So that's how the shutter works. So you have to be careful when you're changing your aperture that you don't accidentally grab it over here and spin it quickly, because you will wind your self timer. So that's how the self timer works. In the viewfinder, you can also see the overexposure arrow and the underexposure arrow when you focus, so you have to align the two images to have perfect focus. A video about how exactly rangefinders work
you will find in the description below.
So that, my friends, was how to use the Yashica Electro 35 GSM film camera. It's a beauty of a camera, isn't it? If you like this video, a subscribe would help me out amazingly. It shows me I make helpful and interesting content. So thank you for watching, my friends. Take care and see you in the next video.